Renovation regret. It's something almost every homeowner has experienced after doing their renovation. I've worked with hundreds of clients and worked on hundreds of projects, and I've seen this play out in real time, in real life. Now today, I'm going to break down what renovation regret actually is, how it tends to happen, and most importantly, what you can do to prevent it, or at the very least, reduce the amount of regret that you have after your renovation. So, first things first, what is renovation regret? Renovation regret is what happens after your renovation is done, right? So you've gone ahead and planned out your renovation is now complete, you're ready to celebrate and enjoy your new space. And at first you're happy. But what tends to happen is after you've lived in it for a little while, you start to notice things. Sometimes it's small things, sometimes it's big things. And sometimes you notice right away, and sometimes it takes days or weeks, even years. And let me explain what that means. So for this example, let's say you've renovated your bathroom and it looks amazing. And then you start living in it and you realize it's kind of dark. You didn't have enough lighting, or, there's not enough outlets for you to plug in the things you want to plug in, or the layout's a little bit off. Something just feels wrong. And when there's a couple people in there, it's a little bit tighter than you thought it would be, things like that. And you start to regret not addressing those issues at the start of your reno or during your renovation. Okay. That's renovation regret. And we all have it. Most homeowners have some amount of renovation regret after the renovation. Now, the idea here is to limit the amount of regret that you have so that it's on minor things that, maybe I should have went with a different countertop or something like that, but you can live with it. It's fine. It still looks amazing, but not the bigger issues. Okay. Now, let's break down why this happens. Okay. There's several reasons why this tends to happen. And let me just start out by saying it's not always your fault. Okay. It's hard to visualize sometimes, especially without the experience, what your space will actually feel like when it's completed. Even if you are able to visualize what it's going to look like, right? Because you're not in that space yet. So sometimes it's hard to actually visualize what it's going to feel like, living in that space. So that's why when it's completely done and your renovation's finished and you start living in it, you start having these regrets, right? So let me just say, first off, that's perfectly normal, right? Not everybody can visualize how you're going to live in your space, right? That makes perfect sense. So that's one way it tends to happen. The other way is what I like to call missed opportunity. So maybe during your renovation, something hits you and you think, you know what? I didn't think about this at the beginning. I have an opportunity to do it. And you hem and haw about it and you think about it, and then maybe you make the wrong decision and you decide not to do it for a variety of reasons. Maybe you don't want to mess with the budget. Maybe you start second guessing yourself. So you decide not to go ahead and do that change, whatever it may be. And then when the renovation's over, you regret not making that change, right? And again, this is perfectly normal, right? We second guess ourselves. And it happens to all of us, right? But that's one of the other ways that it tends to happen, okay? And then another way it tends to happen is by not thinking of the future, right? We didn't plan for the future. And then what that looks like is you think about your renovation kind of in a bubble or in a vacuum, right? And you think, I'm going to do this renovation, whatever the renovation is, bathroom, kitchen, basement, doesn't really matter. But you're so focused on that part of the renovation that you don't think about the future, right? So maybe you design your kitchen in a way that works for you and your wife, but doesn't really work if you had kids. And then a little bit down the road, you end up having kids, and next thing you know, it doesn't really function quite as well. Or maybe that looks like you've renovated your basement, and in a vacuum, the basement renovation turned out really well. You have all the things you wanted, the paint colors, the flooring, the amount of bedrooms, an extra bathroom, all those things, but you didn't really plan for the future. So when the summer rolls around and you want to add a hot tub out back of your house, because you looked at your basement renovation in a vacuum, you failed or neglected to think about the future, and you didn't run a 240 cable to the back to power that hot tub, right? Or dedicated water line, and these sort of things that could have been done while your basement was gutted and open and easy to make those changes, right? So now you have renovation regret, okay? And again, it's perfectly normal. We can't foresee everything, all right? But what I'd like to talk about now is what you can do about it, all right? Here's the big takeaways. So the first thing is with the looks versus reality part of it is you want to think about, okay, it may look nice, but does it actually function, right? And the more you can do this at the beginning of your renovation, the less regret you'll have after it's done, right? So sometimes things will look good, right? But they don't function as well. So you need to take extra time in the beginning and think about the functionality, okay? I really urge you to just slow down. Take a few minutes, take a few days, whatever it takes at the start of your renovation to really think about function, right? Because those smooth tiles, for example, they look amazing and match the rest of your bathroom, may not actually be have a high function, right? So now you have a really slippery bathroom floor, and you have to live with that if you keep that in. So maybe think about function first, and then the best looking item that fits the function, if that makes sense, right? And of course, when it comes to missed opportunities, if you have that nagging thing halfway through your renovation, take more time to think it through, okay? If the wall's already open and you think, you know what, now would be the time to add a couple receptacles or more storage, yeah, it might affect your budget. Yeah, it might affect the timeline, but admit to yourself that you didn't think about it during the planning stages, but now you have. So really think about, do I want to have a missed opportunity that I'm going to regret later, right? And it kind of ties back to the functionality part where you think, okay, if I don't add this storage now, well, things are open and it's a little bit more expensive, but it's doable. How hard would it be to add it later if I really want it, right? Because it might be a big difference later. So think about that part, the missed opportunities. If you have something that's just bugging you, I found, I don't want to give a percent here really, but 80% of the time, you should go with your gut, right? You're thinking about it now. Yes, you should have thought about it in the beginning, but you didn't. But admit that, move forward and say, okay, I'm thinking about it now. Is it something I really want? If so, like I said, 80% of the time, the answer is yes. That's why you're thinking about it. That's why it's bugging you. And if it's bugging you now, you haven't even finished the renovation. Think about how much it's going to bug you later, right? So go with your gut. That's my advice to you. Go with your gut. Don't miss an opportunity, okay? Now, as far as planning for the future, the takeaway is simple, right? We can't plan for everything. Are we going to have more kids later? I don't know. Are we going to want a hot tub in the backyard? I don't know. But if you can think about the cost versus the reward, or the cost versus the regret, that's probably a better way to think about it, right? So if you're renovating your basement, like I used in an example, and you have no intentions of putting a hot tub in the backyard, but now's really your only time to run that cable, you know, that 240 volts back there, my suggestion is do it anyway, because it can only benefit you, right? It's a minor inconvenience now, a minor cost upgrade now, but even if you never add a hot tub, if nothing else, when you sell your home years later, having that wire ran already might improve the value for the next homeowner who does want a hot tub, or those extra outlets, or the extra water line, or the extra maybe natural gas line ran to the back so that they don't have to use propane tanks for the barbecue anymore. They can have a direct line. Those kind of thinking for the future items, even if you don't plan on using them right now, are items that I find most homeowners actually regret later. Because you know what? Maybe you will never have a hot tub. But like I said, the value is still there, because it's way harder to add those items later, okay? And if you do have one, 2 years go by and you decide, oh, I do want to add a hot tub, you'll be thanking me and yourself for taking the initiative and planning for the future. So if you want to start off your renovation the right way, I suggest you download my free checklist in the description below. It'll help you get off to the right start, and it's absolutely free. Go ahead and download it. I'm sure it can help you. And I suggest also you check out the rest of my videos on this channel. I go over many different topics, everything renovation, before, during, and after. And I know that it will help you save time, money, and have a smoother renovation. And that's what we all want. So thanks for hanging out with me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.